Everyone, we are so excited that you have joined on with us as we are going to look at using Google with Ed and Writable. And so we are so excited that you are here. Know that this session is going to be interactive. So if you have a question, a thought, or even a concern, do not hesitate to click on that chat bubble. And we have a panel of experts there to answer your questions. So if you have a question that comes up, do not hesitate to go ahead and place that question there. So during our time today, we are going to focus on how can you use Ed and Writable and Google. How can you use that great trio together as a teacher as well as a student? Know that I'm Alicia Taylor. I'll be your presenter today, and we have a great team of support that is on to support you to help answer any questions that you have. And so you're going to see Brian, I'm Alicia, you have Heidi, Cara, as well as Becky, and we're all on to support you. So as we get started, one thing I do want you to know, you have friends or colleagues, maybe even coaches or even principals, administrators, teachers. Know that we do have additional sessions that are coming, and so do not hesitate to join us for those additional sessions. So you're going to see there is a session with Schoology Ed and Writable that's coming up on tomorrow. There is also sessions next week. We're starting the new year with Writable, easy steps to get started. And then you're also going to see how to have a successful student experience. So do not hesitate to join us in these academies and sessions that will be hosted through the rest of this week as well as we move into the month of February. So as we get started with today's session, we are going to focus on three key areas. So first, we're going to talk about how to use Google Classroom and Writable together. So we're going to talk about, if you're a current Ed user, if you're using into reading, into literature, into science, into social studies, and into math, how you can easily, from your Ed dashboard, go to Writable and make that connection to your Google Classroom. Then we're going to talk about how do you make those assignments as a teacher and how those assignments will appear in Google Classroom. And then we're going to jump on as a student. So I'm going to become a student. I'm going to walk you through how will the students see their assignments when they're using Google Classroom, how they can complete those assignments and turn those assignments in. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the grading and reports with Google. So what happens once a student has turned in their assignment? How does that appear on your teacher's dashboard? How are you able to grade it, and how will those grades appear in your Google Classroom gradebook? So we're going to talk about everything Ed, Google Classroom, and Writable. Know that today, similar to what Lauren discussed, today's session is being recorded, and so you will receive a recording of that session as well as the recording is going to appear in the Writable Academy. And then know that if you have any questions, do not hesitate to place those questions right within the chat. So this is an open discussion, so feel free to place those great questions there. So as we get started, first we're going to talk about using Google Classroom with Writable as an Ed user. So we're going to talk about where should you launch from. We're going to look at how do you connect your Google classroom rosters to Writable, and then how do you assign. So we're going to go in through the lens as a teacher. So as a teacher, if this is your very first time logging into Writable, you do want to go right from the Ed dashboard. So you do want to launch right from your Ed dashboard so that you can open up Writable. So I'm going to show you how that all looks as a teacher when you are logged in to your Ed platform. So currently, I am on my Ed dashboard, and so now I'm looking at into literature, but know that on your Ed dashboard, you might see into reading, into science, or into social studies, or into math. You might see those subjects at the top. So what you want to do to launch your Writable, you do want to go down to where it says Connected Solutions and click on Open. Once you select open, it is going to open up to your Writable account. Now, this is your very first time launching from Ed. It is going to ask you to connect to Google or Microsoft. So you want to go ahead and click on, you want to connect to Google. It's going to ask you to put in your Google login email, and it's going to ask you for your password, and then ask, is it okay to connect your Google account to Writable? So you want to make sure that you complete those steps. So you want to make sure you do that the very first time. If you're launching from Ed, you do want to make sure that you're launching from Writable from Ed at least one time so that it can make that connection between your Writable account and the awesome writing prompts within Ed. So you want to make sure that you do that. Okay, so once you launch from Ed, it is going to take you to your Writable account. And so you're going to see a green bar at the top that lets you know that you are right within your Writable account. So as we're looking at Writable, you're going to notice some areas. You have the My Assignments area. This is where you will see the assignments that you have copied or the assignments that you have assigned to your classes. You'll also see an Explore section, which has your over 600 Writable prompts that are built into it, as well as it's a place where you can create your own prompts. You'll see the Classes area, which will have your My Classes. It'll have a list of your classes. You'll see a Reports area, which will have all of your great data and reports. And then you're going to see a Team Grade area, navigation area, where you can do team grading, set up calibrations, exemplar papers. So you'll find those tabs located at the top. So once you have launched from Ed and you're in Writable, and you want to connect your Writable account to your Google Classroom classes, what you want to do is to go to the Classes button that's located at the top. So that Classes button, you want to click on that. Once you click on the Classes button, you do want to select Import Google Classes. So we want to take our Google Classes and import them into My Classes. So you want to go ahead, and I'm going to select Import Google Classes. Once I select Import Google Classes, it's going to ask me for permission to connect to my Google class. So you want to select Proceed, which will be in blue. Once you select Proceed, it's going to pull up your Google account. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my Google account that I use for my Google classes. And once I do that, it's going to ask me, it's going to show all of the courses that I have within my Google Classroom. So it's going to show me those Google Classroom courses. If I have, 10 courses, I will see 10 different names. If I have 2 courses, I'll see 2 different course names. So you want to go ahead and check the box of the courses that you want to import into Writable, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and select my English 2 course, and I'm going to select Import, and that is going to import that course from Google Classroom into Writable. Okay, so once it's imported, what you'll notice is that under your classes list, you will see the class. I have English 2, and I will see that it has a Google Classroom icon that is located over on the right-hand side. That icon lets me know that now my Google Classroom class or course is synced to Writable. Okay, so you're going to find that icon there. So that's my English 2 course. I've imported it into Writable, and now I see I have that icon that lets me know that it is synced with my Google Classroom course. As you're looking at your course, know that you can click on the drop-down arrow, and the drop-down arrow will show your students who are connected. So it'll show your students who are in your Google Classroom course. You'll see those students appear here. If you have a co-teacher, maybe I have an assistant in the classroom, or maybe even during this time of distance learning, I have a coach that joins my class. Know that you can add your co-teacher here. And then you can also select your grade. So this particular grade is my 10th grade. So I can click to add the grade. And then you're going to also see there is more options. I call it the hamburger. It's three lines, horizontal lines, that will allow you to archive the class. So if I accidentally imported this class over and I didn't mean to import it from Google Classroom, I can archive the class and it will go away. Okay. So if I am wanting to go in and if I'm wanting to sync my Google Classroom, my Google Classroom course to Writable, the way that I do that is that I am going to select classes at the top. I am going to select import Google classes. And if I have any classes that haven't been imported, I'll see those classes there, and then I can select those classes and click on import. Okay. So that is one of the first steps that I want to complete and I want to do so that I can import my Google classes. All right, so now that we have that set up, the next step is that as a teacher, I want to assign prompts. I want to assign activities from Writable to my Google class. So how do I assign prompts into my Google class? So I'm going to click on the Explore tab that's located at the top in the green bar. And remember, in the Explore tab is where I have all of my great prompts located. So I'm going to choose, and when you're looking at the Explore area, know that you can navigate your prompt options by choosing grade level. So you'll see elementary, middle school, high school. My English 2 course is a high school course, so I'm going to choose high school. You can also navigate by genre, so I can click and I'll see I have, argumentative, persuasive, narrative, informational, or expository, so I can choose it by genre. And once I choose, I'm going to select all for genre. Once I choose the grade level, select the genre, I'm going to see my great collection of writing prompts. So I have that great collection there where I can pick and choose from. So you're going to see everything from skills activities, where it's going to go over the skills. Students get a chance to practice the writing skill and then apply the writing skill to their paper. You're going to see those writing skill activities. There are short responses. There are essays or graphic organizers, a plethora of prompts that I can choose from. So for our time today, I'm going to choose a skill activity for my students. So I'm going to click on skill activities, and I'm going to click on high school skills activities. So over the last 2 weeks, I noticed that my students, they really need to practice the use of transitions. They keep saying and whenever they write, or they keep starting the sentences with the. And so I want them to really practice on transitioning from one paragraph to the next, or transitioning from one thought to the next thought. So I'm going to have them practice the skill of organizing and using transitions. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And once I click on it, you're going to see the information and details are going to come up. Now, as you're looking at the information and details, it's going to highlight for me the activity, give me a description of the activity. It's going to tell me about how long it takes for students to complete this activity or complete this writing prompt. It also will tell me which skills are covered. It'll let me know which rubric will be used. It would also highlight the standards for me. So depending on my state, I'll see those standards there. It will tell me the format, and it will tell me how many different prompts are there. Now, as a teacher, as I'm looking at the skill, as I'm looking at this particular writing activity, I have 2 options. I can choose to copy, and if I copy the assignment, that is how I am going to assign it to students, or I can even preview it as a student, so I get a chance to see what my students will experience. So for our time today, I am going to want to assign this to my students. So I'm going to select copy, because copy assignment allows you to assign. So I'm going to select copy assignment, and it's going to tell me, the assignment has been copied to the My Assignment tab. I can explore other prompts, or I can go to Manage My Assignments to assign. So I'm going to go ahead and select Manage Assignment, because I want to assign this particular writing activity to my students. So I'm going to click on Manage Assignments, and it's going to take me to the Manage area. So now that I'm seeing my prompt, I have a couple of options. So you're going to see three tabs. You have the edit, you have the preview, and you have the assign. The edit button, if I wanted to edit the prompt, maybe I want to change the name, maybe I want to change the rubric, maybe I want to put a picture of my face on each and every part of the activity so students will know that I'm watching them. I can do that. So the edit button allows you to customize and edit the prompt. We talked about the preview. So the preview allows me to preview it from the student's side, so I get a chance to see what my students are going to see. And then I can click on the assign. So I want to assign it, so I'm going to select assign. Once I select assign, I'm going to see a list of my classes. Now I want to assign this to my English 2 class. So I'm going to go down to my English 2 class, and I'm going to check the box. And remember, my English 2 class was a class that I imported from my Google Classroom. If you want to assign it to more than one class, know that you can do that. So maybe I want to assign it to my English 2 course, plus I want to assign it to my writing course. If I want to assign it to more than one, I can check the box. Box or boxes of all the classes that I want to assign this prompt to. So for today, I'm just going to do my English 2 course, my section 101. And so I'm going to select next. And it's going to take me to the area where I can now have options for assigning. So the first one, the submission type. So I can choose I want students to type out their paper, or I can do the student choice. And the student choice allows students to pick how they want to turn in their paper. They can turn it in by typing, or maybe students are better handwriters. They want to handwrite out their paper and take a picture. If they want to handwrite out their paper and take a picture, they can do the images. Or I might have students that need accommodations where they need to do a video of their paper or an audio of their paper. So if I choose the student choice, students get a chance to pick how they want to submit their paper, either by writing, which will be typing their paper up, which is the way that we normally have students turn in papers, or maybe it's taking a picture of something that they've handwritten, or maybe it's a video or audio. So maybe students are going to read their papers using a video or audio. The other option you're going to see is Google Docs. So I imported my Google Classroom. So maybe I want students to have the opportunity to, when they're writing their paper on Writable, to have all of the features of Google Docs, which we know those features can include, making text larger. It can include the text to audio. So maybe I want some of those great features that are built into Google Docs. I want students to experience that when they're writing. So I can select Google Docs if I want that. So I'm going to select Google Docs. The other thing you're going to see is that I can assign a self-review. So if I want students, as they're turning in their paper, if I want them to stop and do a review of their paper, I can do a self-review. I can select the anonymous peer review. So if I want their peers to grade their papers, I can do that. And remember, that's a two-way blinded review. So students, they don't know whose paper they are grading, and they don't know who graded their paper. So I can choose, add a peer review. I get to choose how many times I want students to complete a peer review. I can also choose when do I want them to complete a peer review. Then I'm going to see if I wanted to add revision aid, which is the artificial intelligence. Think of it as another writing teacher that sits right beside students. I can add revision aid, the enable originality check, if I wanted to enable originality check that is turning in. So if I wanted, to ensure that it's students' original works, that they're not copying from Wikipedia, from Google, from another student, I can have that great turning in, the plagiarism check. I can enable that. And then one of the most important items as I am assigning to my Google Classroom is to add assignment to the Google Classroom stream. So this is very important because if I want it to appear in my Google Classroom stream where students can see it, I want to make sure that I check this box. So I'm going to go ahead and check the box. Then I'm going to select Assign. I see Turn It In as it might appear, will you allow turning in? The privileges, I'm going to say agree. And it is going to create that assignment for me. So I see my English 2 class, and that is my Google Classroom course. I see that icon there, and I have made this assignment to my Google Classroom. Okay. So I'm going to go back over that step one more time so that we're all on the same page. So whenever I want to assign, after I have went in and imported my course from my Google Classroom, after I have done that, whenever I want to assign a writing activity to my students and assign it to my students for Google Classroom, I'm just going to go to the Explore tab. Once I go to the Explore tab, I can choose the grade level. I can choose the writing genre. I'm going to choose the activity that I want students to complete. So I'll do a quick write. Okay, I can take a look at the quick writes, or, I can do a response to the reading where they read and respond. I can select compare and contrast. I have a great description. If I want to assign this prompt, I'm going to select copy assignment. Once I select copy assignment, I can select manage assignments. Once I select manage assignments, I'm going to choose the edit button. I'm going to choose the assign button so that I can assign it to my class. I'm going to go down and look for my course. I'll see that it has the Google Classroom stream icon. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to select next, and then I can choose the options that I want students to complete. So Google Docs, if I want, or I can have them write on Writable, assign the self-review, a peer review, enable a revision aid, enable originality check, and then I have the Google Classroom stream, and this is the most important one I want to make sure that I do. So I'm going to check add assignment to Google Classroom stream, and I can check any other options that I like. I'm going to select assign, and it's going to create that assignment for my course. Okay, so I will see that there, and it lets me know that it's there. I have that Google Stream icon that appears. So now we've taken a look at how, as a teacher, do I create those assignments. So we've just taken a look at, as a teacher, when I am on Writable, how do I first link my classes? How do I import my Google courses or Google classes into Writable? We did that easily by clicking on classes. And then secondly, we've taken a look at how do I assign a writing activity, and we can assign a writing activity through the Explorer. Also remember that when you're under Explorer, if you wanted to create your own assignment from scratch, know that you have that ability to create your own assignment from scratch. And then once you've created it, you will see that it will appear under My Assignments, which will allow you to assign it to your course. Remember, the most important step as you are assigning to your classes, the most important step that you want to make sure that you check is that you do want to go in and ensure that as you're looking at your options, that you do check the last box that is going to say add assignments to Google Classroom streams, because that is what's going to take that assignment and place that assignment into your Google Classroom stream for your students to see. All right, so we've talked about the teacher's experience and how do I go in and make those assignments. So now we are going to highlight and talk about the student experience. So now that I have my classes imported into Writable from Google Classroom, now that I've assigned, how will my students get to their assignments from Google Classroom, and what will they see? Okay, so how will my students get to their assignments in Google Classrooms? What will they see, and how do they turn it in? So I'm going to go ahead, and now I'm going to log in as a student. So I've assigned as a teacher. Now I'm going to take a look at it from a student's perspective. So I'm currently a student, and I am a student in English in the English 2 classroom, and I'm in my Google Classroom area. So as a student, I'm going to click on Google Classroom, and what I'm going to see is that the writing assignments that my teacher created, in Writable, I'm going to see those assignments, and they are going to appear right in my stream. So I will see that they appear right in my stream. They also appear right in my classwork area. So they're going to appear in those two areas, my stream area as well as my classwork area. Okay. So as a student, I see that I need to complete my activity. So I see that I need to complete compare and contrast activity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the compare and contrast. And as a student, you'll see it's going to tell me the title, it's going to give me some instructions, and it also gives me a quick summary of what I am going to complete. So it gives me a quick summary of the activity. So as a student, I can click on, you're going to see the link here. So as a student, I can easily click on my Writable assignment, and it's going to take me right to my Writable assignment. So I'm just going to select Google, go in through my Google account. I'll select my student account, and it is going to appear right there for me. Okay, so I'll show you again as a student. I am currently logged in right into my student Google Classroom account. And as a student, I will see that assignment for Writable. It appears in my stream area, and it also will appear in my classwork area. Okay, so as a student, I can easily click on the assignment. It gives me the title and some directions. It also gives me a quick summary of the assignment, and I can easily just go and click right on the assignment. So when I go and click right on the assignment, it's going to take me right to my writing assignment. So this is my writing assignment that my teacher has assigned to me. Okay, so it takes me right to my Writable dashboard. So it is an easy transition from Google Classroom right to my Writable assignment. Okay, so I just click on the assignment from Google, my Google Classroom stream or my Google Classwork area, and it takes me right here. So as a student, I'm going to click on Read and Write. So once I select Read and Write, it's going to pull up my writing activity. It even tells me when I complete, where can I go. So I can easily see my writing activity. I have the reading that I'm going to read, then I have the directions, and then I also have the opportunities as a student where I can write. One thing I do want to highlight is that for students, when they're on Writable, wherever they are going to read, there is audio support. So we know that sometimes students might be struggling with reading, or sometimes students are like me, I just want to hear the audio. And so you'll see that students can easily select the audio to listen to the particular article that they are going to need to reference. So you'll see that they have that audio part. For the directions, there is audio support as well, and then students can write down below. Now, as a teacher, I decided to assign this assignment, and I decided to check the box to enable Google Docs. So when students are, if I check that box to enable Google Docs, what I will see down below is the Google Docs format that will appear. So students will be able to type in their paper, and it will be saved in their Google Docs or Google Drive area. So students, I can type in here, or, if I wanted to make it bigger and enlarge the Google Doc, I can type in, and you'll see at the top is my Google Doc, and it's saving this to my drive as I type. Now, know that you do not have to enable Google Docs for the assignments. If you want students to just write and have the Writable format when writing, you can have them have the Writable format when they're writing, and just check writing as one of the options. But if you do want students to have the Google Docs for them to write in Google Docs, you can. It's going to save it to their drive, and it also gives you all of the features that come with Google Docs. I'm going to type in my paper. I'm going to write, I can compare the yellow wall to the story. Okay, so I can go in, easily type that in. Students have their paper, and you're going to see there's not a save button anywhere, so it is doing that auto save. So once students have typed their paper, once they have their paper typed in, if they ever need to go back to the readings and have the reading and the writing side by side, they can. Once they're done, what you're going to see is that they can select check and submit. When they select check and submit, you're going to see that great rubric that is going to appear in over on the right-hand side. So students can easily select submit. It's going to ask me, am I sure that I want to submit my paper? Am I ready? I am going to select submit. If students weren't ready, they can select cancel and finish writing, but I'm going to select submit. And it will let me know that it looks like, your writing is 100% complete. And it says, do you want to update your assignment status in Google Classroom? So I can say, turn in Google Classroom assignment. And so as a student, when I go back to my particular writing and I update my area, you'll see it's going to update that assignment area. So I can, view work. It'll show me my assignment. It'll show that I turned it in, or I can view your work. And then it will update that assignment status within Google Classroom. Okay, so I can see that updated assignment status within Google Classroom. So ease of use for students. So I'm going to repeat that step, go over it again. If I am a student and as a teacher, once you assign the writable prompts or writable writing activities to students and you check the box to ensure that it's going to appear on their screen. As a student, whenever I get ready to log in to my Google Classroom, I am going to see the stream area. My writable assignment will appear there. It will also appear in the classwork area. If I want to start the assignment, I am just going to click on it. Okay, it's going to show me, it's going to give me a brief description about the assignment. It is also going, I can easily start the assignment just by clicking on the writable link that's here. And as a student, it's going to take me right to my writing assignment. So I will see the read and write, which lets me start. I click on the read and write. And once I select the read and write, I will see that I have my writing activity from Writable that is going to appear. So I can easily start that writing activity. I have the write area. So I can write if my teacher has checked the box for Google to write in Google Docs, then I'll see that my area for writing is going to be the Google Docs area. I can make it larger. I can write out my paper, type in my paper. Once I'm done, and it's going to continue to save. As I'm typing, it's going to save my paper to the drive, and you're going to see that over at the top. So as I type, it's going to save it to my drive as a student. And then once I am done, I can select check and submit, and I can submit my paper. Once I submit my paper, it's going to give me the option to update my stream as a student, my assignment status, and I can easily update my assignment status. I'm going to turn my assignment in. Okay. And so then as a student, I will have, and this one requires me to do some revisions, so I can go in and revise. Are there any questions from the student's perspective?
We had one question that was about using like the peer review or, any of those. And one of the things that I think is important to note that anything that you select as a teacher, whether it's self-review, peer review, originality checker, et cetera, they would go ahead and just click inside of Google Classroom, and it would take them right into the link, just like you're showing here. And then also, anytime you want them to revise, again, they just click in Google Classroom and you're at the screen where you can revise. So this is kind of the piece where regardless of what you're asking them to do, as long as they just click out of Google Classroom, they'll be able to see all of the pieces of the assignment that you've assigned right there in Writable.
Perfect. And like Cara said, students, so the last assignment that I did, which was using transitions, that one did have a peer review. So as a student, I turned in my paper, I'm going to complete the peer review. When I go back, the review opens right up for me. Okay. So that peer review where I review another student's paper or even the self-review is going to open back up. So students, whenever they're in Google Classroom, whenever they're clicking on their assignments, whether they're in the peer review area or maybe they're the self-review phase, or if they're in the writing, they can get to all of it just by clicking right on to their assignments from the stream or the classwork within Google Classroom. Right, so we've gone through the teacher experience when assigning and importing your class. We talked about what the students will see once I have assigned. How does it appear in the stream, in the classwork? How can students easily just click on it from the stream or the classwork and go right to the writable assignment? So now that they've turned it in, we are going to take a look at, from a teacher's perspective, how can I grade their papers now that they've turned them in? So I'm going to go ahead and just go right to my teacher dashboard. So as a teacher, I am back onto my teacher's dashboard, and I am going to click on my assignment so I can see, the student who's turned in their paper. So I see here, students completed the compare and contrast. So I have the one student, tells me the one class, the student who completed. I'm going to click on compare and contrast. It lets me know that this is my class. I see that icon, so it lets me know that my Google Classroom is connected. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my English 2 course, section 1, and I can see my one student who has completed their paper. And it also will show me categories, skills, standards, all of those great areas. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Last Submitted and take a look at the student's paper. So this is what the student submitted. So I have a student, she submitted one sentence, and so I'm going to see that particular paper. Now over on the right-hand side, you're going to see that I have the options for, I can go in and I have these great options where I can grade the student's paper. So, I can go in and say, okay, well, 1 star, they only have one sentence. I can add comments as a teacher. You'll see those comment stems that will appear as a teacher. I can choose a comment stem or write my own comment stems. I'm going to give her 2 stars here. I'm going to go ahead and grade this paper. Okay, so you'll see that option is easily built right within the paper. If I wanted to take a look at the prompt, I can always click on the drop-down area. You can see the prompt and have the student paper. The other thing I'm going to notice, as I'm going through and I am looking at the student's paper and I'm grading using the rubric, you're going to see that I can give written feedback or I can also do audio video feedback. So if I wanted to record myself talking to students, telling them how awesome their paper is or ways to improve their paper, I can do that as well. Even if I needed to upload a video, I can also upload a video. So know that you have those 2 options. So once I've gone through, I've selected the rubric items, I've selected the stars, I've put in comments, your sentence. I'm going to put in comments. Once I've done that as a teacher, now, and also know that as you're looking at the student's paper, you'll have their great paper that appears. If I wanted to highlight in their paper and do this rubric match, I can. So, for example, I gave the student for number 2, rubric item number 2, I gave them 2 stars. If I wanted to go in here and show them where it is on their paper and why did I give them 2 stars, I can do that, and I can put in a sentence as to why. So if I wanted to do the great rubric match, I can do that as well. I can select done so that students will know within their paper where the rubric items are matching. So I can have that option as well. So once I'm done, I'm going to click on submit. and it is going to submit the student's paper for a grade. So I will see that the student, as I went through and did the rubric options, each of the rubric stars are connected to a numerical number value. And so once I've gone in and looked at the rubric items, I'm going to click submit, and it will tell me as a teacher I've given the student a 60%. Now, know that this grade that I've given to the students is easily going to appear right within my Google Classroom. So when I go back as a teacher to my Google Classroom, I can select grades, and I will see that 60% appears. So the grades as a teacher, when you do your teacher review, those grades that are within Writable from the teacher review, they're going to automatically appear within your Google Classroom. So as a teacher, I'm looking at my English 2 course. I have the stream. I have the classwork. And then I can now go to grades, and I can see that for my student, I graded it. The 60% that was in Writable from my grading appears in Google Classroom, and I see that 60 out of 100. Okay, so I easily see that grading there, and that grade is automatically synced to my Google Gradebook. Perfect. So as a teacher, whenever you get ready to review your students' work, you just go to My Assignments, you choose the prompt, you're going to see that connection to grade. You'll click on the course in the grade. And then once I click on the course in the grade, I can go down to my students. I can click on their paper. And then I will see here the students have their writing. If I wanted to make comments, so I have my rubric that's over on the right-hand side. If I wanted to do a rubric match, if I wanted to highlight the items in their writing that correspond to the rubric items, I just go over to the student's paper and I just click and drag, and it's going to pull up the rubric items. This particular rubric has one criteria, two, the second criteria, and the third criteria. So these are my rubric items. I can connect them. So, this particular part, I'm going to say that this connects to rubric item number 1. I can put a comment in. I can choose one of the comment stems that are there for me as a teacher, or I can write my own comments. Okay, I can select done, and it is going to highlight it for my students. Okay, so students will know this particular part of the writing corresponds to this rubric. I can say I'm going to give you a 1 here, and 1 here. I have the opportunity to do written feedback, or I can do an audio video feedback. This particular writing assignment, I did add the originality check, so turn it in. I did add it, so you're going to see it up at the top. And I was assigning to my students. So if I wanted to check, I'm pretty sure this is not on Wikipedia. But if it was, if I wanted to do the originality check, I could, make sure that no other students turned it in and students did not copy from the web, or if they did copy it, to ensure that they cited their resources correctly. Okay. So once I've done that, I've graded my rubric items. I'm going to select submit. It gives me a score in Writable. That grade. To see that grade in Google Classroom, I'm just going to go to my Google Classroom. I'm going to just click on Gradebook. I have my stream. I have my people. I have my grades. Actually, let me change my course. So this is for my Writing 2 course. So I have that particular course that's there, and I can easily see that grade that is going to appear in my grade book. So easy for me to navigate as a teacher. Okay. All right. So now that I have my class completed there, the other thing as a teacher that I do want to highlight sometimes as a teacher, I do have those grades are going to appear. sometimes as a teacher, when I'm looking at my grades, sometimes I want to maybe print out the grades, or I want to save the grades to my drive. And this is important if I am maybe going to a data team meeting, and I need to show, maybe I'm meeting with a coach or a specialist or the principal, or even a parent-teacher conference, and I want to have those grades, those reports to be able to share with colleagues or family. So I can always go to reports, and reports area is going to have all of your reports. So whenever I'm looking at my reports area, if I ever want to export, maybe save it to my drive or have a PDF of the student's writing, I can always click on export. And you're going to see where I can export those to my Google Drive, or I can export as a CSV, or even export my students' writing to a PDF. Okay, so I might use the report area in the export. There's a very great area when I want to share this data or share students' writings with colleagues, with family, or with administrators. So know that you can do that if you needed to. So you'll see that it's there in case you want to share this great data with others. I can always click on the export button. Right. So we've taken a look at how it's easy for you as a teacher to navigate when you're in Writable, when you're using ED, the ease of use to navigate from Google Classroom, importing your class, assigning to Google Classroom. It is truly easy for you as a teacher, as well as it's easy for your students to navigate from Google Classroom. Once that assignment is created, they just click right on the assignment, and that assignment takes them right into their, it's going to take them right into their assignment, on Writable. So as you're looking, you're probably saying, okay, this is great, but maybe I have colleagues that I want to share this support to, or maybe I'm online and I forget a step. Well, no worries. Know that we are right there with you every step of the way. So one thing you're going to notice is that whenever you are on Writable, you'll see a letter Q that's located at the top. So that letter Q allows you to search. So you'll be able to go right in and search on Writable. There are help documents if you're working with Google Classroom. How do I sync my grades? All of those great supports, you're going to find them there. As well as you'll see that there's an opportunity for you to do a live chat. And you'll see some familiar faces when you're clicking on the live chat. So know that that support is always right there for you as a teacher. So if you're online, you can always click on the Q, the question mark. That question mark will pull up the opportunity for you to type in a question that you might have. Or you can go down to the bottom with Chat With Us, and Chat With Us allows you to chat with a live person within Writable. And so you can easily type in your question, and there's someone to answer your question. Also know that if you need to email Writable, you can easily email us at support@writable.com to have that great support. So as we conclude our time today, we want to thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you have a great week. Know that feel free, we want you to join additional Writable Academy sessions and webinars that we're having. So feel free to go to writable.com/academy and register and sign up for our additional sessions.